So Muldraugh is just a small piece of Mayberry. It's a little slice of heaven. Right now I'm in Muldraugh, Kentucky. Population 1,053 according to 2012. So 2 years ago it was 1,000, just a little bit above 1,053. Well, 1,052 because of John R. Price. He was shot through the head. So population is 1,000. It's named Muldraugh because of the steep hill right before the town. It required a mule-drawn wagon back in the day. So they needed a wagon that was carried by a mule so the way you could get here. That's where Muldraugh gets its name from. But now it's Muldraugh. In the 1963 James Bond movie Goldfinger, a section of Main Street appears in the film. In the scene where Goldfinger's men are driving in the army trucks on their way to Fort Knox, they can be seen coming out of Harris Street, turning onto Main Street. The red brick house on Harris Street, the white cinder block building on the corner of Harris and Main, and the used car signs in the background are still there today. John R. Price, a few months ago, November 19, 2013, was said to have killed himself in Muldraugh. The story doesn't make sense. The Kentucky State Police, I heard they were the ones that fired the shot. Muldraugh Police, Meade County EMS, Meade County Sheriff, Meade County Brandenburg Police, and West Point Police were all there. And supposedly John R. Price comes out underneath his porch, and they say he shoots, and then the KSP officer shoots, and he still remains anonymous, so they don't actually say who fired the shot. And so it's, I don't know. I mean, the guy's suicidal. It's a tense situation. If he shot, people would understand you shooting back. So why would they have to lie about it? I don't like how they're lying. It makes me, you know, this military base, is it here for us? Is it here for my defense, or is it going to eventually, you know, get me one day? So I don't know why they was there. They said they was there for a call of a suicide watch. So did the guy say, hey, I'm suicidal, and then they fucking killed him? I've seen, I mean, the police are out of control all over America. I've seen this one police video where he's like, I don't have time to deal with this shit, and he just fucking shoots a fucking person in the head and just kills him. And so it's like he just was bored, you know. I don't have time to, you know, just sort out what is right and what's wrong. It's like, no, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. That's your job, right? Our tax dollars pays for you to protect and serve us. So yeah, we just need to raise our caliber of what we understand about ourselves. So Kentucky, it's not all gloom and doom. We're schizophrenic during the Civil War, so but there's a strong countercurrent, positive developments. There's racism and white supremacy and fascism, and white Anglo-Saxon Protestants have been in the ruling classes forever. They murdered the Germans, murdered the Irish, murdered the Greeks and the Russians, and any immigrant that wasn't English-speaking white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, even Irish. So Irish was from the same island. But the English-speaking fucking Anglo-Saxon Protestants were such fucking assholes. It was like, nah, you're not. Nah, you speak a different language. Fuck you. You're not part of. You know, you're not us. 100,000 Kentuckians fought for the Union. 25,000 of them were slaves or for newly freed slaves. And 25,000 fought for the Confederates. The Confederates of Kentucky matched the number of African-American newly freed men, Kentucky Union soldiers, and the pro-Lincoln forces vastly outnumbered the Confederates by 4 times the amount. 80% of Kentuckians helped to murder those who supported owning slaves. Owen County, Kentucky. Colonel Owens was an Indian killer. When he was riding with James Wilkinson, Arthur St. Clair, Colonel John Hardin, and William Henry Harrison. William Henry Harrison deserved the pneumonia that he got by reading his presidential speech for too long. He shouldn't have been outside without a raincoat on. But also he got the curse. I think it was called the Tecumseh's curse or the prophet's curse. They said you'll get power, but you're gonna fucking die right after that. And then William Henry Harrison got power, become president of the United States, talks a long ass fucking time in the rain, no fucking raincoat, gets pneumonia, and then dies. So there was all murder of Indians. That's all they fucking did. That's all they give a shit about. So Colonel Owens died in 1811 at the Battle of Tippecanoe, fighting alongside William Henry Harrison. William Henry Harrison was Tippecanoe. He was, you know, that's what he rolled his laurels to fame. That's how he was able to get, you know, become president. Kentucky has Willis Russell from Owen County. So even though the people are named after these horrible fucking people, you do get heroes that come out of them. But the only reason you have a Willis Russell is because the entire county government was overrun by the Ku Klux Klan. And why would you have a county that's named after an Indian killer that wants to kill more brown, you know, darker skinned peoples? Big fucking shock there, right? They've been killing brown skinned people since they got there. They also had slaves when they got there, so, you know, it's either oppression, be my slave, or you have no use to me, you die. That's the English-speaking, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant fascist ways. This is a continuity that's happened throughout history. 1774 is when the first settlement in Kentucky happened. 1774. That's not, you know, that's basically yesterday, in blink of an eye of history. And a question I want you to think about is, can you judge past eras by current era standards? So can I look at the Roman Empire and say, well, their empire failed because they were overextended and this and that, and somehow can I use that past to compare to the American Empire or the Ottoman Empire? Can I compare and contrast different empires in different time periods? You know, can I compare the Mongolian Empire to the British Empire? And, you know, am I allowed to do that? So that's a question to think about. The Colonel Owens, he's the namesake of Owen County, but Willis Russell came out of Owen County, so it's possible for good, heroic people to come out of these, you know, horribly racist, fascist, waspy, you know, sort of white supremacist towns. So the Ku Klux Klan had the mayor, county attorney, the sheriff, lots of elected officials in Owen County. They're all part of the Klan. It was right after the Civil War. They actually got 200 newly free black folks, and they pushed them across the river in 1866, which was a race riot in Gallup County. So you have this, you know, these the Ku Klux Klan and Willis Russell, who single-handedly fights all of them, and he stands up to him. He appealed to the governor several times, and finally, once they're all descended upon his house, and he gets the governor finally steps in with his militia, and then they make a bunch of arrests. But eventually, I think Grover Cleveland actually writes a pardon for William Smoot and a lot of the Klan. So Grover Cleveland fucking pardons all these fucking assholes that Willis Russell was able to obtain in this one fleeting fucking good, you know, hearted moment in Kentucky history. I love this story. The story of Willis Russell is just badass. It just shows that I think you can't compare one era to another era, because back in Willis Russell's era, it was acceptable to be part of the Klan and to hate black folks. But if you was black, or if you thought black folks shouldn't be slaves, or that they were people too, you would also be targeted as a radical, and you would also kind of be pushed out, or you know, they would try to murder you. And that's what happened in Owen County. Willis Russell was able to stand up to the entire fucking town's established power, authority, the elected officials. You know, there was elected officials, so they could have been using terrorism in order to get their way, but they did have some sort of democratic legitimacy. And the fucking county attorney was going around in fucking bed sheets, and Ku Klux Klan was the Democratic Party. So it's the Democratic Party going around in bed sheets, and the sheriff going around in bed sheet just terrorizing everybody. And Willis Russell eventually, you know, was able to get him a posse. He was able to arrest a couple of them. Then like a prison guard let one of his prisoners away, and he eventually just wrote his, you know, memoirs all in one fucking long page, and it was amazing. It was a good ass fucking story. And he come out of Gratz. I think he was in Gratz in Hardin County, where the bank robbery happened. So Owen County is named after an Indian killer, but Kentucky is actually a Native American word, which means different things. Some say it's a Wyandot word, which means land of tomorrow. Others say that's an Iroquois word, which means meadowlands. But I believe it's a Shawnee word that means dark and bloody ground. And so, you know, there's nobody actually knows, but those are the three most possible translations. So what are the 3 possible translations for Kentucky? Dark and bloody ground, dark and bloody river. Dragon Canoe was like, yeah, dark and bloody ground over there. And Shawnee, the Cumberland River used to be called the Shawnee River. Shawnee was, I think it meant southerner. Of the, they're the Southerners, the Indians. Kentucky is also the first state south of the Mason-Dixon line that passed the Civil Rights Act of 1966. Kentucky legislators didn't want to pass it in 64. When JFK did it, they re-ratified the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment in 1976. They didn't accept it when it was first passed, but they repassed it symbolically and also it reestablishes it, because there's a lot in the 14th Amendment, a lot in the 13th and 15th Amendment, so you should check those out, because that turned America into the federal government had more power than the state government. The Reconstruction Amendments are some of the most important amendments in the Constitution. Kentucky has many disturbing facts too. Right, so there's about over 60% of the deaths come from the War of 1812, so they're using us as fucking cannon fodder. They were fighting in the Mexican-American War. There's 1774 pioneers, Harrodstown, Daniel Boone, the first white Euro-trash settlement west of the Appalachian Mountains. It was founded June 16th, 1774. So James Harrod founds Harrodstown June 16th, 1774, just 250 years ago. And it's no surprise that Harrodstown was pro-Confederate during the Civil War. Harrodstown's abandoned because of Indian tax, and then they resettled it the year after in 1775. James Harrod was a British man who murdered the French and Indians in the French and Indian War. And then he murdered more Indians, the Shawnees, who are native to Kentucky, including Puck Shinwa, and possibly Tecumseh himself during Lord Dunmar's War, a.k.a. Johnny Logan Tagayita's Revenge. Harrodstown is known as Harrodsburg today. I'm surprised that there's an 8% black demographic population. They should be championed as great survivors. As the settlement of Harrodstown grew, James Harrod became a wealthy farmer, owning more than 20,000 acres. So there's another, they're English-speaking, white Anglo-Saxon fascist Protestants, but they're also land speculators. So they're land speculating war hawks. They're bloody, they're psychopathic, just look at the continuity. They're bloody war hawks. They're land speculators. Okay. So James Harrod was wealthy, got a shit ton of fucking land in Kentucky, but they said he became increasingly socially detached when he made long solitary excursions into the wilderness. In February 1792, him and 2 other men entered the wilderness in Kentucky to hunt for beaver, and then James Harrod was never heard from again. So he walks with 2 other guys in February 1792. Nobody knows what happened to him. I think he was murdered by Kentucky Indians. And many of Daniel Boone's family was murdered by Kentucky Indians too, but nobody ever knows. It could have been the 2 guys who he walked out into the woods with. When you walk out into the woods, you never know what's going to happen, right? 1 or 2 or 3 people go into the woods, and only 1 or 2 or 3 people come back out. Or 4. They might find somebody out there, right, that maybe they had lost before. The Indians clearly didn't want the James Harrod and Daniel Boone here. So that's why they killed most of his family and probably killed James Harrod too. Most of Muldraught's in Meade County. So Meade County, yeah, woo! So, fuck Hardin County. Hardin County's a bunch of fucking assholes. They're fucking overweight and mean and shitty over there. They don't, they're a bunch of Nazis when it comes to the fucking library books, and that's because nobody reads there. They don't want to fucking have them check books out, and it's not important. It's just a job, okay? And, and so, Meade County, I'm a Meade Countyan right now, right? So, and, we're named after James Meade. That's the fucking asshole that we're named after. The capital is Brandenburg, 94% white Brandenburg is, and then Meade County is 92%. So very fucking white county. Probably more racism than there is in Hardin County. 20% of Meade County is working for Fort Knox. So that's military, that's integration, that's some of, Meade Countyians shouldn't be a bunch of white supremacists, fascists, totalitarian psychopaths, bloody war hawks, land speculating war hawks like we've been seeing for, you know, the very beginning of Kentucky. But it is in the history, and so no doubt that it's in the blood. There's only 10% poverty here. Population in Meade County is 29,000. Then you get the Matthew E. Welsh Bridge that connects to Indiana. If you want to find out who Matthew E. Welsh is, tune in to Kentucky History number 8.